But we are super duper excited now. And let me tell you why. We have been giving these presentations for over a year now on the courthouse. I know a lot of you have seen them and heard them before, but today is extra special because not only is there an agenda, actually 2 agenda items in Commissioner's Court tomorrow morning on this issue, we also are fortunate enough that our County Judge Mark Keough has decided to join us, and we're going to nicely inquire as to his thoughts on all of it, and maybe we can get some insight on what's going to happen tomorrow. If that happens, you will know even before the rest of the judges know. So if you want to say this is just perfect timing. Before we get to that, though, we have 2 things we want to do. Number 1, we have a Facebook page for the courthouse.
Pull out your phones.
Pull out your phones.
When you hear a judge standing at the bench telling you in the courtroom to pull out your phones, you know it's serious.
Because
is weird.
we're always like, put your phones away. If you go to Facebook, it is Montgomery County Courthouse Projects. That will give you everything up to date going on, including reports that we're getting in, significant findings, so things that you are going to want to know even past whether or not we're going to get a new courthouse, right? So please follow that page, and please also, for the people in the community, the other lawyers, if you could hit the ... and invite your friends to follow it as well. So now that I'm past that cheesy like and share part, thank you for bearing with that.
No, we're not on any other platforms. Sorry.
We
X
are.
users or whatever.
There's an Instagram. We,
We
have
have
all the other
Instagram and
stuff.
X.
Kristen, Kristen doesn't
Wow,
play games.
My goodness.
See,
Somebody hasn't been riding in the elevator.
yeah,
I
yeah.
take the stairs.
It's posted.
I like my
Barrister
life.
Pleadwell, he's on all the social media except
Oh.
TikTok. I can't figure out how to do that.
Oh,
but-
Barry. Okay. And so the second thing that we wanted to talk to you, I know we have some criminal practitioners in here. It will be pertinent to you, but I also know that we have a lot of civil practitioners here who practice in Judge Santini and Judge Bezos' court. And so regardless of what happens with a new courthouse, there are going to be some changes in the courthouse facilities for these 2 courts specifically. We want to tell you how we got there, what they are, and what you can expect. So Judge Santini, would you like to tell us what happened that is going to promulgate these changes we're going to talk about?
So the second special session of the last legislature, there was a new court that was created. It was kind of ran through pretty quick. And the Board of Judges and the Commissioner's Court, we were kind of playing catch up on the, okay, well, let's take a vote. Let's just kind of order of operations was kind of wrong. But that being said, the 523rd District Court is created, and it is going to be up and running September 1st of 2026.
Felony court.
It's been designated to handle criminal law matters. Why that's important is because we have no room at the time that was created for an additional court. The Chief of Staff for Judge Keough got with us, Jason Millsaps, on Judge Keough's behalf, asking us, hey, can you find out, I was the administrative judge last year, can you find space, can you look in the Keyshan building across the street and see if we can make that work, talk to the people there, and make room for the 523rd. And that's what we did. Judge Bays, Judge Laird, and I, and Judge Keough's office was involved in that. And what's great, and talking with Judge Keough the whole time, I know there's always been a short-term plan and a long-term plan. This specifically to help with the 523rd that's created. What we're doing now for space is part of the short-term plan, what we're going to do, Kristen.
Well, so the 523rd, being that it's a felony court, security is a concern. There will be inmates, they will be shackled, there will be all the things that you see and smell in a felony court. And the result of that is that this space is the best for the space you're in now. The 284th is about to become the 523rd. Welcome to the 523rd District Court in another 5 months. This space, being that it is part of the connected buildings, which is a security disaster itself, but far better than the disconnected building across the street. As you know, inmates are unloaded by closing down Main Street. 17 deputies are called upon each time there is a group of people. The bus doesn't fit into the alleyway where they are unloaded. That's already its own chaotic problem, but it would only get worse if they were to do it on the alley between the Keyshan building and the main public parking garage for downtown Conroe,
Where jury assembly is.
where jury assembly is. So putting a criminal court into that building was just a non-starter. So
Yep.
we're the
So
sacrificial lambs, I guess. I don't know. But we're going over there. Now, I will tell you that that has proved to be far more difficult than I think that the Commissioners Court or even we might have realized. We have talked in these speeches to people for the last 15 months that renovating office space to turn them into courthouses isn't really a workable solution. It's a Band-Aid, but it's not really a workable solution. Well, Keyshan was the original admin building for Montgomery County. It is, at its core, an office building. So we're doing that in real time right now, building out 2 court spaces in what is otherwise an office building. Most recently, we've had some text messaging with the architects working on our plan, and one of them has reported specifically that the whole idea of trying to make a building into something it was never intended to be always turns out to be more expensive in terms of time and money. He gave an example of a city hall in Huntsville that was budgeted at $16.9 million. It's now over $30 million, and it's 2 years past due. So we're a little concerned about the past due part with regard to our moving out by I guess really by August 1st so that the new court can move in here and be ready for business on September 1st. So how's that going?
yeah, we haven't wasted time. I mean, when this was created, I mean, Millsaps came to us right away. We spoke with over the next, I would say 40, 50 days. We spoke
for
with people from 11 departments. That building housed 11 departments.
Moved everybody here, there, and everywhere.
And
Yeah.
we spoke with, maintenance, building maintenance, what can work, security, this, that. It was a lot of boots on the ground. But, part of this presentation today, we want y'all to feel like you're in the inner loop, kind of peek under the hood, what's happening to your courts. But what was great, we were thinking of y'all. What was great is a good exercise, I think, for what's going to happen with the new court center.
New courthouse.
We got to, in building out the new 457th and the 284th, we were thinking functionality. What is this court missing on our day-to-day operations? And we're talking with the architects and the engineers on this. So part of the updates for y'all, when we get across the street, we're going to have 4 council tables versus 2. Why is that important? I know Mr. Yalik and y'all, I've seen y'all in multi-party cases where we're all cramming together, the parties, third parties, counterclaimants.
Mr. Old, do you remember Chabelle? You want to tell everyone about what that looked like in here because it was pure chaos.
I thought we were going to rent the Lone Star Convention Center for that.
We were planning to, literally. It was, yeah.
So what's-
I had arranged that.
Yeah, right. So we thought about that, but not at the expense of sacrificing your well, where you can have demonstrations, presentations, talk to your jury. So we have a good size well. We have 4 tables. We have enough, the gallery is going to be large enough to house 100 jurors. Our juror box is going to have 14 seats because we like to use alternates because it's more cost effective for the taxpayers to pay for 2 jurors $50 a day than in the event a life event happens to call an entire panel back of 100 and something people. So that we thought about that.
Oh, but
In
there's
our
more.
foyers, in
There's
our
more.
foyer for the entry of the courtrooms, you will have meeting rooms, conference rooms to make your strikes, to talk to your clients, to talk about mediation. That's not in the middle of the well violating your client's rights. These are important functionality aspects that we are able to work hand in hand with the architecture and things. So it's pretty awesome stuff.
I mean,
Yes. Oh, wait, we need this. Remember, we were like, oh, wait, what? oh wait, we should probably do
Yeah.
this for them. We were trying to think of what y'all need, putting ourselves in y'all's shoes to help your clients.
Well, we've become very smooth and polished in talking about it, but we might have been a little rambunctious last fall as we were looking into all these things and the spaces, and if we got rid of this wall and we put this door here, and how do we get a bathroom in for our jurors and all the things.
Oh my gosh, that was last fall?
That was last fall. I know. But at the end of the day, part of the reason, the original hope was that we would be moved into the Keyshan building in April. Yep, not going to happen because we haven't even broken ground yet on the build out because we haven't gotten the architectural plans yet. And it sounds like I'm trying to throw shade on someone. I'm not. I'm not. It has just proven to be a more difficult project because it's an office building. It's an office building.
They have, so, but updates, they did work, are they in the first floor yet? I know the
Oh, they've
guardianship.
moved everybody from the second floor down to the first floor.
there's
Those were all the
progress.
departments that we've had to move to create space on the second floor for us.
How many departments, Kristen, did you have to work with?
Well,
to-
there were
to
9
facilitate
departments
this?
in the building, 11 departments that we had to deal with to move all the pieces where they needed to go. Because there were downstairs renovations. The second floor had basically offices, and the jury assembly, of course. But they had basically offices all around. Those offices were occupied by departments that had to be moved downstairs. The downstairs space is mostly offices, but it houses the county server, which we like to keep protected, I think for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And so we had to be very mindful of certain parameters about where these departments could go. It was not easy. I'm not whining about it. I'm just telling you about it because that's part of, I think, a good lead in to why it is that we would really like to have a new courthouse, something that at its origin is constructed to have the things that are very unique to court spaces. It's not just a big room where people can be. It's got to be an arranged situation. We have to have seating for clerks. We have to have seating for the judge. We have to have monitors everywhere. There is the court reporter. There is the court coordinator. There's the witness stand. We have to have sufficient counsel table, not just for people to sit, but for people to have their 47 bankers boxes, a place to store those. We have to have adequate seating for jurors, including some who may be in wheelchairs or have other accommodation needs that require more space. We have to have the jury room connected to the jury box so that their passage into the jury box is a secured one. We have to have a separate entrance for the jury. I mean, these are the things, once you start getting into a building
Yeah.
and you think, what do we need? The list is long.
How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if we all played that game at like church camp? I mean, it's like, no, you missed a step. You forgot to walk to the pantry. And so it's like, it's doing that with a court facility is very detailed.
And I will tell you, the architects too, one of the things that we had to explain to them, Vince just talked about how we've maintained your well size, even though we've added counsel tables to allow you to have a place to set up shop to try your cases. That was actually a little bit difficult because they didn't understand well space. They didn't understand that all this open space here is not just wasted space where you could just park anything you wanted. And in fact, we could make this room smaller if we closed this space off. They don't understand. This is where you practice your craft. This is where the magic happens. The jury is seated there, the witness is there, you've got your easel up here, you're doing your demonstration here. This is closing argument land, this is opening statement land. It's got to be open.
And it's the buffer zone. So Dewey doesn't tackle anybody for being too close to the judge, right? I mean, it gives them a little safety space too from, well, for me, it's probably 2 steps.
But people
Mr.
that are
Tough, 2
used
steps.
to office buildings don't understand this isn't wasted space.
Right.
This has to stay open.
But if
That's
they
why
don't know,
courtrooms
they
are
don't
bigger.
know, right? I
If
mean,
they
it's
don't know,
it's
they don't
not-
know.
it's
I'm not
like-
critical, but it's just the reality of the situation.
Have to talk with the doers in there to understand the needs.
I think that's a perfect segue. Is this a good time?
I
for
think
me
it's
to
a
pop
great
back
time.
in? So, on the if you don't know, you don't know thing. So there are 5 people that are going to make a decision on this. They're going to make a decision that involves literally Where will the courthouse be? Of course, it's got to be somewhere in Conroe, right? We know that because the legislature has told us that. They're going to decide, about there's been all sorts of, it's like brainstorming a trial, right? You have all this litany of information and how is the best way to proceed forward. It's the same type of process that commissioners are going to make. Now, you're talking about 5 people who come from different walks of life, and they do not one of them knows what everyone in this room knows about how it works in a courthouse, how it should properly work in a courthouse. So things that are very like, well, of course, you have to start the car before you can drive it, right? To us, it's not like that for them. And they don't have time to run their precincts, run the county, and then come over here and be an expert in how courts run, right? Because that takes us 20 years and we still don't know some of this stuff. So with that said, we are so fortunate to have Judge Keough. So I want him, not that we're suspects, but their only contact with us is give us money. I mean, and that gets old, as you can imagine, every year. No, we need more, we need more. Since Judge Keough is here, if y'all have constructive things as far as, I know some of y'all practice in Harris County where there's not the room and they can't create the new courts, and how that has affected them. Do we need this address? Does anyone have thoughts on that you can constructively convey with us?
Let's just do do we need a new courthouse?
I was just going to say, when you were listing off all the things that needed to be done and considered, I do family law. I've got a law firm specializing in divorce. We practice in 11 different counties, associate judge chambers.
Yes.
So family law, they always have an associate judge. And here in Montgomery County, we have them like in closets, and they're far away from where the court is, and you cannot fit anybody. Open courts law, you have to be able to allow the public in, but by the time you get the poor associate judge in his closet or her closet, and you've got the litigants and the parties, you're just about completely out of room. And like docket call, we have to make everybody stand outside until they can be called in one at a time. And I will just say, as I said, we practice in a lot of different counties, and Montgomery County, with the exception of Harris, is by far the biggest, most populous, growing, and it's got the most crowded, dilapidated courthouse out of any of them.
Yeah, and that's a really good, thank you for that. And it's definitely where functionality meets constitutional protections, right? I mean, they all have to work together. And I know in the criminal land, we talked about that a lot, but.
Because that's Mr. Yates.
Yes.
Mr. Yates. When you need to speak with your client and your client has come from the jail and your client is wearing one of those fancy orange jumpsuits with the shackles and they're seated in the middle of the row, but you need to have a conversation with them about strategy, how do you do it?
We slide further down the row or find an emptier bench. That's about it.
And who's surrounding you at that time?
Either bailiffs or other inmates.
So the police and the possible snitches that are going to want to up their nice plea deal to tell on your clients.
Yes,
Do you have any concerns about you maintaining privilege in that situation?
absolutely.
Any concerns about your client's constitutional rights?
Absolutely.
I have another question for Mr. Yates specifically, just because you are a multi practitioner in different types of law. So you do criminal, but you do other stuff too, right?
Yes.
So my question is, with regard to the idea of, say, there was going to be a certain community of courts left in one place, and then the other ones are going to be across town, how is that going to affect you getting between the courts and functioning with your clients when you're in one place and you have to be, because we often have to be in several courts at the same time. We all do this. So explain how that works.
The hardest part is explaining to your clients that you have to be in separate buildings at different times or the same time. Just like if you practice in Harris and Montgomery and stuff, you'll have cases set near the same time in a completely different county. And it's very difficult to schedule those things. Luckily, we've got great coordinators who will work with us. So you can schedule a lot of things on one day and come the next day for something else. The hard part is getting to say, you know, you're in district court for a criminal case, and you're handling that case, and you think it's going to last an hour and a half, 2 hours, or then you have to bounce down to county court that you go from the third floor to the third floor and then take the elevator up or down. And you could stay there for 45 minutes on a case that shouldn't take that long.
And then you might have to go back to the original district court to finish up what you were doing there. And if this
Yes.
is across town and now you add the element of driving back and forth,
Correct. And then.
does this work?
And sometimes I'll have expunctions, and so I have to come down and over and over and over and down and up or down to one of these courts to do the hearing there. And so I could be bouncing in between 3 different buildings, up and down elevators for multiple cases in one morning.
What if the buildings weren't connected but were separated by a railroad track, as a for instance?
That would be much more difficult.
It would make your life worse, not better.
That would be more tantamount to Harris County practicing the criminal court
Oh,
building.
so we'd be more like Harris County.
So as far as distance wise, but Harris County has a tunnel.
Harris County does have a tunnel. I mean, their buildings are all connected, but
It's still a distance to walk.
yes. But
Mr.
we're
Yalek,
already
did you have a
fixing to move
question?
2 that are going to be not connected anymore, so there's.
And a quick comment. The comment is, I'm hopeful that whatever y'all do and the commissioner's court does, that you do not move the courthouse outside of downtown Conroe, because and a lot of people who are not attorneys have expressed that to me. It would be economically devastating, not only for downtown, but for this whole community.
You have a building right here, a mediation center right here, right off the square. And so why did you choose that site?
Absolutely. That's right.
And so that's actually a really nice segue. And look, when the county judge summons you, you go. I had an amazing conversation with Judge Keough yesterday. He had, and I showed up with my, packet of things, and I go into I wait for him to invite me in. I don't just barge into his office. I come in and he has notes and pads. And I think there was a little bit of him quizzing my knowledge yesterday. Guess what? He had the answers that I was giving already written down on his thing. So he's been keeping track of what did that demonstrate to me? He has been keeping track of this stuff. So we're talking about site plans. Tomorrow we have 2 agenda items set. One, I think, is Commissioner Wheeler's about funding. We're not making a decision on funding, but discussion surrounding funding sources. And then we also have one surrounding architectural plans and things. Judge Keough, I think this is a good segue into our bar association here, into talking about site plans and things. Can you enlighten us on the trajectory, the plan of site plans, architecture, things like that?
Well, thank you for inviting me here
Yes.
to this. And I knew I was going to come within about 10 minutes before I actually came. So I didn't come to do a presentation, but I would like to share a few things I think that have to do with this. We have been keeping track of this. And thank you for your willingness to go to the temporary things that we need to do, because we got to keep functioning, because, we're not going to build a courthouse overnight. But the other side of that is we want to do it as quickly, as efficiently, and as cost effective as we can with the least amount of impact on our taxpayers. We've talked about this extensively, because with what has taken place here in Montgomery County, we have a growth situation where we're doing so many good things. Some people have asked me, well, Judge, what can we do to slow this growth down? Well, that's easy. Let's quit doing things right. People want to come here because we do many things right. One of those has to do with law enforcement and the whole process of a culture of deterrence that starts with the criminal knowing that they're going to be punished, that they've got an opportunity to go before the DA, that he's going to press charges, and that you guys are going to be able to matriculate them through quickly. And then when you hire a sheriff who is top of mind awareness of this stuff and is really focused, not only do we have regular growth, but you have all the growth that comes as a result of more efficient processes. That's what's taking place. And so when you look at a courthouse that was designed and was built in 1936 for a group of people in Montgomery County that had about a 20,000 population at that time, obviously we've outgrown that. We've added extensions onto both sides and a variety of things. So back in 22, we commissioned a company to do for us an evaluation of what we needed. Was it 269,000 square feet?
91.
291,000 square feet, regardless of where we put it. The need for that is still there. And there's very things you're talking about. We know there's, in other words, you don't have to sell me on this. I'm totally immersed now and engaged in it because we absolutely have to do this if we're going to keep functioning in our growth and moving forward in our county to keep the kind of environment that we want, which is a safe and have an environment of deterrence. But we have to have a place for people to meet, obviously. So we had 5 choices, a number of which we actually own the property. Remember, you have a jail that we have to do something with too. I will tell you that the state of Texas is pushing the needle on the jail for us. And so with that in mind, we cannot forget about that because then we obviously have to have space for that. So you have the jail and the courthouse. With the courthouse, though, the reason I had Judge Santini come to see me yesterday, we had already spent some time with Kristen that I wanted to tell them what was going on in court. And there's 2 items on the agenda. The first item is let's talk about what we need to do to get architectural moving on this. So in order to do that, we've got to pick a facility that we think is functional. So I think we've pretty much done that. Where I would like to see it is over by our building and the property next to it. But again, this is all, just so you know, this is all subject to Commissioner's Court and the final decision of the court.
And I hate to interrupt the judge, but you make a really good point. And I just want to highlight this point because this is part of what we talked about. When you're making decisions like this, money is a big deal. So one of the questions is, do we own the property? There's 5 proposed sites.
Oh, yeah.
If we already own the site, we don't have to fork out that money. One of the proposed sites is that city block right next to the Commissioner Court building, which would still be downtown Conroe.
Right.
And I know, as Judge Keough said, that's the one he really likes.
I think it's most functional. And I think even though there are height restrictions that the city of Conroe will have on us, well, their choice would be we move out of here and go completely out of the city.
What's the V word that we know? A variance.
Right.
Do you think the city of
Yes.
Conroe, with y'all's help, would allow a variance if we have to go taller than the Conroe Tower?
But in order to do that, obviously, there are some requirements that would need to take place, and they're going to have requirements, and
Sure.
It'll take a little bit of work. But I have to tell you, though, overall, that I think is probably the best option for us. We've talked about that before, and it keeps everything downtown, and it takes us out the next really 20 years. I think as we've got a 5-year, 10-year, 15, 20-year plan, as I have looked at it, takes us out the next 20 years for growth and what we want to do here in the county. And at the same time, with that item, once we decide if that's the one we want to go with, then we're going to commission our purchasing to go ahead and start getting architectural drawings. Once that then is complete, obviously we're going to talk about financing. Now, we won't come to a conclusion tomorrow in Commissioner's Court, but Rich Wheeler's item is to talk about the financing end of this deal and how we're going to go about doing it. Whether we do a public-private partnership, some type of modified version of that, or whether we do a public general obligation bond, or whatever that might be. But one of the things that we talked about, and all 3 of us talked about 2 different times and different locations, is my concern is that because it looks to me, as we look at our growth and whatnot, that we can do this with minimal tax increase. And we do it in terms of tranches of money, when we spend the money, how long it's going to take when we do it, just like a road bond. You know, we have a $480 million road bond right now. We did a $120 million initial sale. Well, we didn't need to do another $120 million because they're not ready to start building yet. So we did $60 million on this next round. And so this is how we keep it so we don't increase the tax rate. How we're going to do that, I don't know if we can, but with that in mind.
We can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
we talked about, and so what's,
Let me finish. Whoa. Let me finish. I know we can. I know we can do it.
well, I want to brag on him for 1 second,
Yeah.
because yesterday, but you did say this, which I thought was great. In the event, whatever funding source, obviously they want to choose the funding source that does not impact the taxpayers negatively.
and bravo for that.
And so that's one good thing.
Y'all
Two,
taxpayers out there.
he said, in the event that there may be a little small thing, he said, I want what? The T word, transparency. He said, Judge, I want
We must
transparency.
disclose it.
And I said, we're good about that. I'm happy to disclose if there is one. We will be the first ones to say that. So I did appreciate that comment.
When you look at 3P, or you look at public-private partnership versus a general obligation bond, you got rate issues that are associated with this. You have disclosure requirements associated with this. You have voting that takes place on the part of the people, whether they want one or the other or both or whatever the case may be. And all I'm looking for is to make sure that whatever we do, the people know exactly what is going on. I think that's essential. And if there are going to be types of increase, here's the deal. We need this. If we had to do it right now, we couldn't do it without a tax increase. And so what we would have to do is go out and sell that to the people and let them decide. But I think that we've got a method that we're doing with our road bond, through our accounting, through our auditor's office, where we can do it with minimal increase along the way. And so we just have to see how it ends up. So that's all there is to say.
Yes. I think a standing ovation might
Right,
really be in
yeah.
order here. Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
So we're good.
Yes, sir.
Let me just.
We are
finish. So-
great.
So we got
Thank
two
you.
items on the agenda. First item is we want to decide, I think, tomorrow, decide which one of these projects we want to take on, where it's going to be. Which, by the way, is probably in the second item is going to include the jail. I don't know that for sure, but we've made it broad enough that if the sheriff brings information in, he can at that time. Because we've got purchased property already for that we own, and we've got property already for the situation with our courthouse. All right?
Just so we're clear though, because I do want to circle back, just so we're on the same page. Correct me if I'm wrong, Judge, that the chain of events is pick a site, hire architecture, they will then get pricing, then you farm that out, and
How we want to finance.
and then decide, because we can't get we can't finance a number that we don't have, that can't come until architecture is done.
Right.
So it's pick a site, architecture, pricing, funding, farm out.
Only thing we can do in the financing discussion is talk about the pros and cons of various financing methods. So we don't have to talk about money right now because it's going to take a little bit of time to get that. But please know, so there's no question in anybody's mind, we've been talking about this for a number of years now. And it's time. And I am personally, I can't speak for the other four commissioners because I have not talked to them.
Right. That's it. Yeah. No TOMA violation.
You heard
That's
that,
right.
Mr.
So I've not
Yates.
talked to them, and so I'm hoping that tomorrow we can come to some resolution on what we want to do and then move forward on the financing options once we get the
And
architecture.
can you confirm whether or not, as we were talking with Ronnie, that are you in favor of all the courts in one building and then the jail in a separate building? Does that make the most sense in your mind?
Yeah, to me it does. To me it does, and I think plus it gives us some additional options, but we'll have to let them decide.
Right.
We have got property right now where we can do in where we don't have to purchase property for the jail, and we also have right now property that we don't have to purchase.
And it's already
essentially.
cleared. We don't have to
Right.
demo anything. Yeah.
Possibility of sucking in the road between the two, what City of Conroe will do there. So it's just a
And
function of.
as to Commissioners Court, just, y'all know, y'all have been working in this courthouse, some of you longer than I have. They didn't create this problem.
Oh, no.
This
They're going to
this
solve it
problem
for
has
us,
been
though.
here for
which
a
is
very
great.
long time, and I think that's how we started our presentation to them over a year
Yeah.
ago. Is you guys didn't cause this mess, but you certainly are in the hot seat to
solve
get
it.
it
To
fixed.
solve it.
So
You gotta solve it.
they're really having to fix a problem that is not, of their making.
Judge, if I may, just real quick
Yes, sir.
about that. When I first got here in 2019, I was in my office not a month, and Gilbert walked in and handed me potential plans for the jail. I'm going, what? What is all this? So, it's taken a little while to come to fruition here, but I think we're there.
Complicated process. So
We're there. So
that's wonderful news.
that
And
being
Did you have a
said,
question for the judge?
well, what I wanted to talk about is one of the things that I want y'all to hear this, and then we can talk about what tomorrow looks like with this. The land plans that the architects have drawn for us are ones where, depending on which site is chosen, the building will have a different shape. If we choose where we're getting a whole lot more land, the building will be 5 stories tall. The building that the judge prefers, and I will tell you I do as well, which is right outside we all do.
We all do.
Right outside the Sadler building, is a 7-story building. But on the inside, each of these buildings has the same component pieces, because that's what the year-long study dealt with. It dealt with every one of the departments and what their needs were and what size does it take to achieve those needs. Now let's project it out with case filings and population increases to see what that looks like for the next 5, 10, 20 years. Those are all the numbers they came up with square footage, and it's very precise. It's a very involved report. It is detailed analysis, Excel spreadsheets, the stuff that I just love. But regardless of the shape of the building, which is wholly dependent on where it's constructed, each building is the same. So we're there. We've got that set in stone. This is what we're going to build. Where we're going to build it is what an architect would need to actually draw construction plans so that we would know specifications. Are we using galvanized nails or not? How many nails do we know? All those things come with the construction plans. And that's what an architect would need to do based upon the data that has already been accumulated and approved by the Commissioners Court. Now, here's the beauty. Here's the punchline. I'm going to land the plane now. When y'all pay a filing fee with the lawsuits that you file, 10% of it, give or take, goes to something called the Court Facility Fund, which right now, just hot off the press, just hung up with Rakesh, we have just shy of $1 million in that account. That is a percentage of filing fees. So were we to pick a site tomorrow, and I say we, I mean you, Judge, but should the court could pick a site tomorrow, it would be a very easy thing to basically agree to hire an architect who might remain open for discussion later on, but to retain an architect using that court facility fund, because it won't change the budget and it won't increase taxes, and it gets us closer to the goal line. So it is my sincere hope, Judge, that that is something that will be part of
it'll
tomorrow.
be all part of the discussion for sure. I have to
Wonderful,
tell you
wonderful.
That whenever you come to court, if you've noticed, when we're going to spend money on something, one of the last items on that particular line of the agenda is, and the funding source is.
Right.
And so that's what we have here. We have an actual funding source to do the architectural to get us going on this. And, as soon as we can, and my goal is to move forward on this as quickly as we can. It's time. We know we're there. I know you're still moving into this other stuff that you just did, and that's taking a little bit of time, but it's going to take a little while to do this. I'm not going to give you any estimate. I can't, but so I think we're there, and we're engaged in embracing it.
But we can say that, as we talked about yesterday, when we're talking about tomorrow's item as far as architecture, we're not talking about redoing feasibility studies. We're good with the 291,000 square feet PGAL. It's now a matter of which firm is going to actually draw it up and get the pricing.
Right. And to as it was mentioned, you were describing a little while ago about the various things you needed in the courtroom. And as I was thinking back over what I had studied in their study, I mean, they've got this down to storage rooms. And I mean, it's awesome. I mean, they've done a thorough job so that we will be a standard for, like we are in many other areas now for the state of Texas.
Indeed,
I'm
as it
telling you,
should
it'd be
be.
awesome.
Let's do it.
So
Any other
Judge,
comments? We
did you
appreciate, I know
wanna-
he's got a lot of places to go.
well,
But
all that to say, one last time, all of this is subject to our Commissioner's Court. I am one of 5 votes, but I just in my heart of hearts believe that we're moving in the right direction and that we'll get something done tomorrow the way we want.
Judge, thank you so much for your help in driving this forward. Thank
Well,
you, thank you.
is it
thank
your
you,
hope,
thank you.
Judge, is it your hope to get this built by the end of your term?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
All right.
That would be
Okay,
awesome.
there we go. All right, we got. Thank you, Judge.
Does it have to take that long?
No, not if we're doing this.
I
Let's
mean,
do-
I'm serious. I mean, once we decide to do this, we need to move.
Does
There we go.
anyone have any
All right.
questions for, we're going to let Judge Keough off the hook because I know you have better places to go.
Well, I don't have better places, but I have
Other
other
places
things I
to
gotta get
go.
done.
Do y'all have any questions for Judge Santini, Judge Bays, or myself regarding anything really? Because this is your chance to talk to us if you want.
Yes,
Sir.
yes,
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 sir.
we'll be there. I'll be there. Yep.
Throw popcorn, the whole thing.
We're in. I'll be there. I'll be on the wings.
I see. So when I was in Bear County and I found it very,
Here,
I don't
come,
know,
come up here so you're on the thing so we can see.
over
you.
here. So when I was in Bear County, I found it very particular that you had to report to a big room. And then from that big room, then they have to take you to a middle-sized room. And then from the middle-sized room, they'll say, well, you know what? It wasn't here. Let me take you to the little bitty room. That's where we're going to have our thing. And if you're doing it by Zoom, it really becomes a much better proposition. But the only thing that I was going to say, I hope it doesn't turn out like that because you feel like you're, I don't know, like you're going to be there trying to see who's going to sell you the cheaper tomatoes on the block. You know what I mean? It really becomes like a market out there.
I will tell you a secret. If y'all want to go to PGAL's website and then look at the work they did at the Fort Bend County Courthouse, and if you've been to the Fort Bend County Courthouse, you don't need to look at the pictures. That's what they're going to build us. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, all they're doing is recycling it. Again, the shape of it
Right.
will be different, but the component pieces remain the same. They have been designed uniquely for Montgomery County's needs, while Fort Bend County is doing its own needs, but they're going to recycle those plans. So if
And-
you like the Fort Bend County Courthouse, vote
Well,
yes.
I do want to say a couple of things. One, I think we can talk about the funding options. I think they should
Yeah.
probably know this is
I
important
think we
information.
should.
Another thing is this, y'all know this. And one of the things Judge Keough knows, he saw the stats. Our current needs that the data shows both from the state OCA from July of 2025 and from our just current numbers like a month ago from our local
Oh, we really
OCA.
got some just yesterday.
Yeah, oh, was it yesterday? Okay.
they're
We
confirming.
need 5 civil district courts right now. The point is, this is not a sustainable model with our with our justice system.
I've got to
So
say
in
it.
the
I've got to
event
say
that
it.
happens, go ahead.
2.46% or 2.46
Courts.
humans, judges,
We're doing,
2.6 judges, that's the 5 civil courts. The 2 of us are doing presently the work. That's not a projection for the future. That's of right now. And we're doing really well, but your confidence that we won't dip below that 87% mark, our case filings are up 144%. Ooh, we need to tell them about funding it. Yeah, yeah.
I gotta tell you, love that courthouse.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Handicap
mhm.
accessible. We also get their parking garage.
Oh, it depends on which plan you pick. There are some à la carte options, but the one that the Commissioners Court has been leaning for, yes. The answer to your question is yes. So Sadler Building, right across the street from that, that's where Keith Stewart's old law office was. That's county-owned property, plus the block that goes to the north behind it. Parking garage would be the block that goes to the north behind it. 7-story building up right across from Conroe Tower, right across from Sadler. Road gets closed, that all becomes an esplanade, which means that we can build the building wider into what is currently the street. And then there's a sally port that comes in right across from where the parking garage is across from Allworth. That's the location. How are we going to pay for it? I forgot, we mentioned that we would talk to them about funding options. So here's the funding option. The judge spoke about tranches. We totally embrace that idea. This has been a drum that we've been beating for 4 or 5 years now with our commissioners. We are not purchasing a $200 million building. We are constructing one. Consequently, we don't need $200 million right now. We need $200 million on a line of credit over time. And we will draw from the construction loan to be able to pay as we meet certain markers with regard to the construction. Slab is poured, you get 14% of the money, that kind of thing. So we're not borrowing it all at once. I literally did just hang up with the auditor, and I've already bored the two of them hearing about this, so I will spare them the details. It involves math and Excel spreadsheets. But what he was talking about is how with our approach of doing draw schedules and being able to pay back the money that we're borrowing as we go, we are actually in a great position to have the funding to do it right here, right now. Here's why. His example was this, the road bond. It was the same one that you heard Judge Keough speak about. And he's right. They're doing it in tranches, pieces. So they're getting about 120 million on a periodic basis. And like he said, this time they didn't need that much. They took a lower draw. So they're borrowing as they need it. They didn't just get 480 million on a single loan cash in the bank account. That has enabled a situation where we're doing really well on the debt side. As a county, we have actually utilized 2.18% of the up to 5% that we can go to and maintain a AAA rating in terms of our debt structure, which means we can more than double what our debt structure is now using the same tax base. In addition to that, the Commissioners Court drew 120 million on the first tranche of the road bond. In the meantime, they have been able to use other sources to be able to pay that back, sources that we've been exploring as well, revenue sources, like our court facility fund, but some that actually have a little bit more zeros behind the dollar sign. And they've been able to use that. So right now, that $120 million draw that they did just a few months ago, it's actually $98 million in debt because they paid the rest back. Never out of time. Everybody loves math. Anyway, the point of the story is this. Your tax bill is unlikely to change in any dramatic way by anything related to this courthouse. We have made it so because that was something the commissioners were very firm about when we appeared before them last February, that they wanted something that would have the least impact of the taxpayers. And we couldn't agree more. Like you, we are taxpayers too. But we need a new courthouse, and we have found a way. It's like magic. Now's the time is now. Please contact your commissioners and encourage them tomorrow to vote in favor of the site that is outside of the Sadler building and to allow the Court Facility Fund to fund hiring an architect. Please let them know.